Welcome back, everyone, to this podcast that we do occasionally, sometimes every week. But as always, I'm joined by my friend and cohort, sjdierberger. Sam,
How are we doing, everyone? How are we doing?
I feel like I haven't spoke to you in a while. How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Nice. Good.
It's been a busy summer. Which is good because we just spent 2 months doing nothing. So busy summer is okay.
Felt like 2 years.
Unfortunately for movies, summer is not very okay. But
essentially, it's not happening. It's not happening at this point. So give us the news, Sam.
But we've just been scrounging for on our streaming releases, some kind of new movie release to be able to talk about, because as we said last week, we'll say it again, but the main format of this podcast was to review new movies.
Literally the worst time to start a movie podcast.
Literally the worst time.
I don't think you could have chosen a worse time, but we did. So I guess we're just
a year ago we were flirting with the idea of starting a podcast, and if we were smart, we would have done it right then, right? As we've discussed, 2019 was a killer year.
Yes.
But
we had to be like,
generally,
we were bored, so we were like, well, movie podcast. But then we're like, oh, but there's no movie.
Yeah. But for those of you who liked the retrospectives, the kind of reviewing older movies, we'll continue to do those when we hit dry spots.
Yeah, we'll review older movies too if there's like an anniversary coming, like a 20th anniversary for that movie, or let's say a sequel might be coming that we're interested in, or a director's coming out with a new movie. We'll maybe revisit one of their older works, whatever. We'll come up with some throwback episodes or some retrospective episodes as well. But for now, it's time for our weekly Tenet talk. This is
every single week.
This is Tenet talk.
You just call this a Tenet podcast at this point?
Yeah, we might as well. Nolan pays us royalties, obviously, because we talk. Yeah, so it's good. The money's great. Let me tell you that.
Yeah, I'm quitting my job.
Yeah,
just to do a Tenet podcast.
Yeah, exactly. So Tenet pushed back for the second time, probably not the last time, if I'm being honest.
Yeah,
I think I don't even know what it is now. It's sometime
in
August
12th.
August. Yeah, it's like middle of the week too, which confused me.
Yeah,
I think it was like a Wednesday or something weird.
Yeah.
So Tenet pushed back. Mulan pushed back, which means there are no more summer movies because the summer movie season kind of ends in early August, just because August is typically kind of crappy. But maybe since the summer movies are now in August, maybe that's still a summer movie. I don't know. You tell me. But man, unfortunate. That's really unfortunate.
It is unfortunate. And as we've established before, Tenet has come to represent more than just the movie itself. It's more like the return of
both movies,
blockbusters, and seeing a movie in the movie theater.
Yeah. And
it was brave of Nolan to hold fast to that date for as long as he could. Because, everyone out, like James, the James Bond movie, No Time to Die, was like, we're out.
Yeah.
Pushing it back to November. Just like,
Fast and Furious 9, F9, pushed it back a whole year. They were like, all right, we were in March, but we're going to March 2021. They didn't want any business of. Yeah, so this is upsetting because I'm really itching to go back to the theater. I don't know why. I just want to get back to the theater because I was a consistent guaranteed one, maybe 2 movies a week to the theater.
Yeah. You were insane.
And now I don't get that. So Theaters are open down here again, but it's crap playing. I think I mentioned that in a different episode. Right now, we got Back to the Future, Jurassic Park, John Wick, Midway, Jumanji: The Next Level, Angel Has Fallen, and Now You See Me. I've seen all 7, so I'm not sure.
Oh wow, that is an eclectic assortment.
Yeah, well,
it's pretty random.
I would say you got 2, maybe 3 good movies in there. So
I don't know what that was, but
it is what it is. Tenet is my most anticipated movie of this year, so I can't wait to see it. What's your most anticipated of the year?
Well, probably. I mean, let me look.
My number 2 is Soul. Believe it or not, the new Pixar movie.
I was just going to mention that they just released a trailer for Soul.
Oh my gosh, it looks so good. I cannot believe the work that Pixar does.
It's going to be an animated version of Whiplash.
It's already won animated feature, and it probably might be nominated for Best Picture as well. It won't win, obviously, but it might be nominated, which is insane. It's a rather weak year, so it hopefully it gets in.
Right. Well, okay. Let's see.
Here, I'll give you this, Sam. So there's been 19 Best Animated Feature winners in the Oscars. How many have been Pixar? Go.
7.
You're low.
I'm way low. Are you serious?
Yeah, it's 10.
10 of them?
Pixar owns 10 out of the 19 Oscars for Best Animated Feature. Isn't that nuts? And they're about to get 11 out of 20 too.
Well, as we discussed a couple of weeks ago, it's not really Pixar who owns them. There's another layer, but
well, Disney, believe it or not, has 3 more of those. So if you want to count that, then it's 13 out of 19.
Yeah, that's above their usual 40%.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
I have an answer. For you. For my most anticipated, I'm gonna say probably. I'm thinking of Ending Things. Charlie Kaufman movie.
Okay. Is that coming out on Netflix?
Yeah, I think so.
We'll do an episode on that for sure.
Just because I'm really intrigued by the plot, and obviously Kaufman is just so interesting. But
yeah,
the other one that no one's really talking about,
Mank,
which is Mank.
Is that what you were about to say?
No, but
okay.
Yeah, you just reminded me of Mank. Mank is up there, yeah, because David Fincher and Gary Oldman is phenomenal in anything he does.
I know who that is. Yes.
The other one I was going to say was The Father
with Hopkins and Olivia Colman.
Anthony Hopkins, yeah.
He plays a dementia patient, and his daughter Olivia Colman cares for him. I mean, Hopkins is probably going to win Best Actor, to be honest.
At this point, why not? I'm really intrigued by Anthony Hopkins these days. I think.
Did you see Two Popes last year?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I thought he was phenomenal.
I didn't get to that one.
Okay. Well, it's playing Benedict XVI is not an easy task, especially when you're not Polish. But I thought he did a good job. Or I don't know. I think he's German actually. But anyway, so there's that. Also, he was in a movie a couple years ago called, an adaptation of King Lear, and he was absolutely phenomenal in that. It's like King Lear, but set in like alternate timeline, present day London. So like everything's very militarized, and they still have like a dictatorship essentially.
Yeah,
he's the king. That was really interesting. He was so good in that.
The thing is, you just give Anthony Hopkins some fava beans and like a nice Chianti, and he's full method. Well, since we've just spent 10 minutes talking about literally nothing, let's move on to the movie of the week, which is, Sam?
70, what is it, 7,500? Is that how we're
I didn't want to say it. That's why I gave it to you. It's either 7,500, 7,500, 7,500. The title is not good. In fact, I don't even know why it's called that, to be honest.
I think it's the flight.
Is that the flight? Okay, but
the flight number, I think.
But weren't they 162? Because
is that the name? This is why I get so. Okay, here's the other interesting thing. Well, we'll get into this.
Okay.
But I couldn't tell if 7,500 was the name of the plane, the name of the flight. Like, every flight gets a code number.
I have no idea.
I don't know why. It's one of the many problems with this movie, but we'll get into that.
We'll get into that. So, for anyone who doesn't know, we'll just dub it 7,500. Is a Amazon original. So go check out the movie if you haven't seen it yet, and come back. It's on Amazon Prime. So if you have Amazon Prime, it's free to watch. It's starring Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who we'll talk about in just a second. Directed by newcomer Patrick Vollrath, first directorial debut, feature length that is, and honestly, not too bad for a first time.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Definitely a success.
Yeah, but let's talk some Joseph Gordon-Levitt, because I know we're both fans of him. We like his work.
Real quick, I figured out the title.
Oh yeah.
It says the title is a reference to emergency transponder code for, quote, unlawful interference.
Oh, that was my second guess.
Okay, yeah. So that's what it is. Okay, go on.
So let's talk some Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who I'm a fan of, whom I believe you're a fan of.
Yeah, of course.
But Levitt has not starred in a movie in like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
And why is that? I know we both like his work in Inception. He's quite good in Lincoln. He's phenomenal in Looper. Very good in 500 Days of Summer. Where did this guy go? Even his directorial debut as well, Don John, is a commendable effort.
Yeah.
What do you think of that? He hasn't been on screen in like 4 years. This is his return.
Well, I read that. I read that shortly after I watched this movie that he had kids. He had a son born in August 2015 and a second son born in June 2017. And I read that he just said, like, I just wanted to take some time off.
Spend some time with the family. Okay. That's fair.
Obviously he has plenty of money because he did do a ton of acting for that 15 years or whatever.
Well, he was a child actor. I've seen him in A River Runs Through It, and that was in like 1992 when he was like 8 years old. So he's done some movies. He's been in some things.
But so 2015 he started taking time off just because he had kids at home now. And what he said, interestingly, this is his first movie back, like we mentioned, in 4 years. What he said was he wanted to do 7,500 because it's very focused on one character, obviously. And he just wanted to do something that was a lot more about acting as a character study. He really wanted to get into a character rather than go back to playing a part in an ensemble cast. So that I kind of understand about it, and why he decided to come back to this very small movie in terms of the budget was ridiculously small.
This kind of segueing, this is just about the perfect movie for Amazon, for Joseph Gordon-Levitt, for the new director. It's so small scale. It's Obviously, a small budget. I could not have taken that much time to film. And it's perfect for all of them just because I know, new director, give him something small. Gordon Levitt, get back into acting. Amazon for producing it. This is a perfect one for them to start kind of, I know they've done original content in the past, but start with something small and then you can do the big blockbusters that Netflix is doing, like The Irishman and Marriage Story, things like that. You can do that later when you've established that you can make movies as content creators. But you can't do that right now when you haven't really established that. So this is the perfect kind of movie for them to make just because of its low scale. Prove that you can do it, then go out and do bigger things.
Yeah, and the other weird thing about this movie is it's a German-American production.
Yeah, I found that interesting too, actually.
And Austrian, I believe, because it had the production company was MMC Studios. So Amazon didn't actually produce it, but it just distributed it.
Oh, okay.
So the production company was MMC Studios, Ogshine Film Production, Film Nation Entertainment, and Endeavor Content. So it's just like a not random, but a weird mix of like 5 different production companies working on this. This is the kind of movie that wouldn't need 5 production companies if it weren't for its tiny budget. And then it was distributed by Amazon Studios in the US and then University of Film AG in Germany and Austria. Yeah. So it's really just like this combined effort, I suppose. And, obviously the film takes place in, Berlin and then Hanover, Germany for the entire thing. But it's filmed, essentially in one place, which was very cool.
Yeah, so kind of segueing from that, unless you have any thoughts on Levitt or anything else about the production, let's kind of talk about some general thoughts.
Honestly, I think this is Levitt's best performance that I've seen.
Have you seen 500 Days of Summer?
No.
He's quite good in that. I think that might be his best performance.
Yeah.
Lincoln he's very good, but he's a small role. Yeah. He's good in Looper, but
I've seen him in Lincoln.
He's good in Looper, but that's again kind of what you're saying, that ensemble. Like he's kind of going toe to toe with Emily Blunt and Bruce Willis. Yeah. So that's kind of what you were saying, how he wanted to get rid of, or kind of not shy away, but go away from that that type of movie. But yeah, this is up there for him. He's quite good in this. There's a few specific scenes that I'd like to mention later on. But
and that's the thing to mention too, is the thing about this movie is it basically happens in real time. So it's not, it's almost like it's one giant scene.
Essentially, I mean, there are camera cuts, obviously, but
right. It's not like a 1917 kind of situation, but
it's definitely you don't. It's not like the next day or even an hour later. So let's
and relating to that sequentially, it's the astonishing thing is the continuity. I mean, to be able to have one situation just escalate like it does in this film, and to film that over multiple days is amazing to me from both a production standpoint and an acting standpoint.
Agreed. I put a lot of that on the director. So props to him, because you're right. That's tough because you have one little sequence that, let's say now there's a stain of we should say this is about hijackers taking over a plane. And Joseph Gordon-Levitt is the pilot.
And believe us, that's all that it's about. That is the movie.
That's it. But so let's say Joseph Gordon-Levitt gets a blood stain on his shirt. Well, now you have to put that same exact blood stain there the next day or whatever. Or maybe it stays overnight. It doesn't matter. But good continuity on that front. I agree with you there. But you kind of mentioned it earlier, but I loved that it stayed in the cockpit the whole time. We never left the cockpit once, except at the beginning when he enters. and we won't get into spoilers, but I loved that stayed in the cockpit the whole time because it told his story, and he never left the cockpit, so neither did the camera, if that makes sense. And I'd be interested to see how they shot this because the cockpit, obviously, and I mean, they didn't shoot it in a real plane, but cockpit's a small area. I'd be curious to see where they put the camera to do all those tricks, you know?
Yeah, my guess is that it was just they probably extended the size of the cockpit.
Sure.
Like, well, they're set, but
yeah.
Like, the size of the cockpit to accommodate a crew. But still, that's pretty hard to do. And to be able to, they really did capture that feeling of claustrophobia,
Absolutely.
And this idea that, with the acting thing, I mean, to have Joseph Gordon-Levitt, like, just stop filming one day, come back the next day, get back into that headspace, start, tearing up, looking sleep deprived, get sweaty again, be beat up again. Like, that's just amazing. Get back into the cockpit,
Yeah, and it was truly Levitt's character's story because we never saw what was going on with the passengers or the terrorists, aside from the camera that could see just to the outside of the cockpit from inside of the cockpit. But we couldn't really see anything going on except for what Joseph Gordon-Levitt, what's his character's name? Tobias.
Tobias, yeah.
We couldn't ever see anything except what Tobias was seeing, which was not over. I don't want to say overused because it was used the whole time, but like that could feel like a bit real quick and get old, if you know what I mean. But it didn't. It didn't. So that's well played by the director.
Yeah, the movie is highly realistic.
Yeah,
I guess. Yeah, it's and the other thing I read a review. It says one critic, Alan Hunter of Screen Daily, described the film as striking for authenticity rather than the heroics or histrionics of an American blockbuster.
Yeah,
and likened the limited set to the ingenuity of Hitchcock for its ability to instill a good deal of sweaty palm anxiety generated by the story, use of close-ups, and a sense of confinement. So it is very Hitchcock-esque, particularly if you think of, from Hitchcock, one of his best movies, which I would say is Rope, is to actually film to look like a single shot.
Mm-hmm.
Similar to this movie, it has a pretty short runtime, and it takes place basically in one apartment, essentially one room, for the entire runtime. So you kind of get that similar feel, I guess. Obviously, like we said before, this is made to look like one shot, but it definitely takes a lot of ingenuity to be able to pull that off. And the other thing too, like the reviewer said, it just strives to be realistic. It's not trying to delve into that heroic nature.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tobias essentially just does his job, what he's trained to do.
Yeah.
There's nothing special about it.
Absolutely. You have any more general thoughts? I thought the sound editing was great. I liked how it was so persistent with the like the banging on the door of the cockpit. Sometimes that can be like that type of thing might be used for like 2 minutes tops, and then it just stops just because it might be a little annoying. But that's how it would have gone down. So I like that it kept going. So that's definitely a plus. Yeah, like I was saying earlier, I think this is a well-made movie on a lot of fronts. We'll get into negatives too when we hit spoilers here in a couple minutes. But it feels like it's as good as it could have been, if that makes sense.
Right.
Like, this is never going to be a 5-star. This movie likely also isn't going to be a half-star. So as long as you don't really screw it up, this movie is going to be a solid, good movie. Not great, but good.
Yeah. Well, it was just never. That's the thing, is the simplicity to this movie. Like we said before, there's nothing particularly complex about it. I mean, the premise is terrorists take over a plane.
Yeah.
And that's it. Obviously, and I read an article about this too. Obviously, you have to think about 9/11 when you have something like this.
I wanted to ask you this: Is this movie with this source material of terrorists taking over a plane? Is this necessary in a post 9/11 world?
Yes and no.
I couldn't help but thinking that as soon as I was starting this movie, I was like, "Gosh, I don't know if this movie is needed." Like, I feel like that's a touchy topic, and I don't know. I want to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so there is a movie called United 93.
Yeah.
Which obviously recounts the events of United 93, which was the fourth plane on 9/11, which was supposed to crash into somewhere, either like the Capitol or the White House.
One of those two, yeah.
Ended up crashing in a field in Pennsylvania because the passengers were able to retaliate and get back into the cockpit and stop them from crashing into something, right? And it just recounts the events or how they would imagine those events to happen, based on all we had was like phone calls to loved ones. That's all we had realistically to be able to reconstruct it. But with this movie,
this is completely fictional, by the way.
It's completely fictional.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. I asked myself the same question, and what I realized was, well, it is, it's directed and written by two Germans. And, I understand that 9/11 is a global event, but, I don't know if that's fully in the European psyche yet. Maybe he found the idea, fascinating.
Yeah, you're right. That's a good point. It isn't in the United States. It's in Europe.
Yeah.
Okay. I know what you're saying then. That's fair.
It is in Europe, and they did get an American actor to play the pilot, but still, I don't know if German audiences completely.
But I don't know if this
grasp.
I don't know if this is made for German audiences.
I think it's made. I think it's a nice mix of both.
Okay.
Maybe I would say something like 40% of the movie is in German.
A lot of it is. Plus,
yeah,
I suppose Turkish as well.
Yeah. There's this, and plus, the thing about 9/11 is when we think about it, we think of 3,000 lives lost. We think of the Twin Towers crashing down the Pentagon. We don't really think about too much what goes down on the plane or what's happening from the pilot's perspective. And
definitely pilot's perspective.
And kind of the in situation of being just the stress of that situation. We more think about it as an event rather than being in a situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess that was just my question: is this a necessary movie? So maybe not. I guess it was made anyway. So
it also doesn't claim to be a 9/11 movie.
No, it's never mentioned. 9/11 is so, or right. It's never 9/11 is never mentioned. So. Right. Well, with that being said, we're going to take a short break and then just come back and talk some spoilers for 7500. Stay tuned. Thanks for listening. Welcome back, everyone, to 7500 Talk. But just before we hit spoilers, like I said we would, Sam has one quick point to make, although I don't know what it is, so let's hear it.
Well, okay, so after I watched the movie, I researched it. And there's actually a movie that came out in 2014 called Flight 7500. Now, learning that 7500 means like, an illegal emergency or something in traffic talk, I guess. That makes a little more sense. But it's like a supernatural horror film directed by Takashi Shimizu. And it's an American film. And it's like a supernatural force on a plane. So I found that really interesting that they decided it was fine to forego the name there.
That is interesting.
So don't be confused. Don't watch Flight 7500 because it looks terrible. Watch just 7500.
Yeah, well, when you can get Amy Smart, who is in Starship Troopers, you do that,
Look at, you know what the tagline for this movie is?
Let's hear it.
There are forces more terrifying than turbulence.
Oh, that's terrible.
Oh my god.
That is terrible.
That is the worst I've ever heard.
We're moving on from that. Oh boy. All right. So let's get into some spoilers here. I'll just kind of outline the movie, and you come in with witty banter and opinions.
Witty banter, yes, of course.
So I loved the intro actually of the security cameras, how it was quiet, no sound, with just the credits kind of overlaying on it. I thought that was a clever use of like some found footage type stuff. So our pilots get into their cockpit. They're getting everything checked in. Our stewardess comes in and asks for says hi, what's up, type thing. Later, Joseph Gordon-Levitt's girlfriend comes in, and they share a moment, just kind of a character building type thing. So she's a stewardess. We find that out.
Right.
Then they board.
Which is kind of lazy character development, honestly. But
it is what it is, yeah.
Just for this runtime.
We'll get into that later, probably.
Yeah.
They board, so the stewardess asks, "Can we board?" And they go, "Yep." And people start showing up 4 seconds later, and I was like, "Okay, no one boards this quickly."
Yeah, I'm like, are they even connected to the terminal right now?
There's no way. Like, you can't even walk down the thing that fast. You can't even show your ticket whatever. Like, they were done boarding.
They don't let you stand outside the plane door.
They were done boarding within a minute. And I was like, wow,
it was so
we boarded 85 passengers.
Like, 2 people are late. Like, 2 people are late, and they're like, oh, it's this inconvenience. And then they show up like a minute later.
So, so the boarding was like, oh my gosh, it took a minute to board 85 people. Did they just have 85 extras just standing out? All right, guys, go in. Come on. Hustle.
Let's go.
That was funny. I was just like, what is going on? I thought so. The people being late, we'll get back to. Yeah. I thought it was interesting. I was like, okay, that's kind of stupid that they're late. That's such a dumb cliche. But I thought it was interesting that the pilots were like, do we wait it out or do we take off their luggage? And I'm like, oh, I thought that was kind of cool how they were having that talk, because it's like, why does it seem like my plane is always 15 minutes delayed? Like, it's not really an hour, it's 15 minutes. Well, it's because sometimes things like that happen where someone doesn't show up and they're like, do we wait for them? Do we just take their luggage? I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. I don't know if that's actually how it works, but it felt real.
I feel like that's grounds for a lawsuit if they just take off with your luggage.
Well, yeah, but they were going to get rid of the luggage. They were going to put it out.
Right.
I thought that was interesting, though. There's a couple, they do get on. So they take off all right. We're in the air. We know what's going to happen. We know it's a hijacking movie. If you didn't know that, I guess you just didn't read the description, which is fine, whatever. So we're kind of in the pilot, in the cockpit. We kind of see a TV monitor behind them so that when a stewardess buzzes them in or buzzes to talk to him, they have to look to see if it's a stewardess rather a passenger because you can't let a passenger.
Right.
So.
And that is a clever addition because
Nice.
realistically, all planes are equipped with that now because of like commercial planes.
Yeah.
Because of 9/11.
Yeah. So that was I like that. Right. You knew it was going to happen. There's a curtain thing where the curtain keeps moving. You're thinking someone's going to burst through that. That was really clever. Kind of built suspense. That was a good ploy. And then, the stewardess asked what they want to eat, and it doesn't matter what they order. But the stewardess comes back in for some reason. I don't remember why. Maybe it's never even said.
Maybe it's just to talk to them. I don't know.
But they get rushed at that point by maybe 3 or 4 terrorists. I'm not sure how many there were. 3 or 4 maybe.
That is so. I was kind of like really at that point because part of it is like communication, right? Okay, realistically, these guys aren't all in aisle seats. They somehow communicated beforehand. All right, first time we're in the air and not like still, I guess elevating. Mm-hmm. We're just straight in the jet stream. First time stewardess opens door, we're rushing cockpit. I don't like that's a lot to happen at once.
Yeah.
I guess that's the only way they could do it.
I think you had to get it going because you don't want to sit on it for 20 minutes.
Right.
If that makes sense. It's more just like it's a narrative thing. Like you can't just sit with that idea. You have to actually act on it. I know what you're saying. Like that would never happen. And actually, I've never hijacked a plane, so I wouldn't know. But
I've never been on a hijacked plane.
But I agree with you. I feel like that it wouldn't go down that way. But again, I think that's just narratively and structurally it had to happen that way just to further the plot, I suppose. But so they get hijacked. How'd that scene work for you?
Oh, it was a scary scene. Like
it's quick. It's very quick.
It's quick, just like how it would happen in real life. And this is more about the movie as a whole, but like this movie makes you feel nervous. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
I was watching it at night in bed, and I was like, "Oh my god!"
Well, you lock the doors and shut your windows too.
Like I was, I was sweating by the end of it. So
it's a short movie too, 93 minutes, but it doesn't really let up too much.
I shouldn't say I was sweating by the end of it because, as we'll discuss later, the ending was kind of poorly done. But for that scene where the cockpit is hijacked, absolutely, I was absolutely terrified.
Yes, great sequence. So essentially, what happens is 2 people rush the cockpit, and I think 2 terrorists stay back and say everyone else get back to the plane. Eventually, Joseph Gordon-Levitt kicks one of the hijackers out of the cockpit and beats the other one to where he's unconscious. I think he hits him with a fire extinguisher.
Yeah, something like that.
But the pilot, so he's the co-pilot, but the pilot is fatally wounded. And he kept on saying he's going to be all right though. No, this guy's dead. I'm sorry. He got stabbed 6 times in the stomach. He's dead. I thought that was clever to have the glass with duct tape. I liked that. I thought that was a clever kind of weapon that they actually might use.
Can you bring glass containers on an airplane?
So the only thing I thought is maybe the bathroom, but they did make a point of showing liquor earlier in the movie in that the camera scene at the way beginning. So I'm not sure how they got the glass. It was either from the liquor bottles or I thought a mirror in the bathroom possibly. They broke it.
Well, that's still, I don't know. I mean,
I guess what I'm saying is,
no. Towards the end, wasn't there a
glass bottle again? Yeah,
they showed the glass bottle, so it had to be
it must have been that.
I don't know if they snuck it into the carry-on luggage or they.
I mean, you can't bring liquids, can you? No, you can't. Never mind. You can't bring liquids through security, but if it's through the airport, you can bring a bottle of water on the plane.
Yeah, you can bring a. But that's the question. Was it because when you're on a plane, you're sitting next to someone. There was a woman with like a plastic 20-ounce bottle of Mountain Dew sitting next to me, and they allowed that. But like, let's say it's a Snapple bottle, which are glass,
But they bought
that's your carry-on beverage. Like,
they bought them in the airport though, so I assume you can.
yeah,
I know what you're saying, but I thought it was clever enough.
yeah.
Like, how could you get a weapon on without bringing a weapon on? I suppose.
I think it was trying to like get the TSA to find their last like possible weapon.
Yeah.
Because obviously the TSA list is just long. So yeah, I guess.
I thought it was fun. I thought it was fine.
It'll work. It'll work, definitely.
At this point, our protagonist is Tobias is injured via his left arm, was stabbed. He does have control of the cockpit though. The pilot eventually does die. I thought that was pretty dumb. I thought it was like, this guy is obviously dead. Like, I don't even know why we danced around that fact. And I hate in movies when they do like 20 seconds of CPR and then they're just done. I'm like, first responders do CPR for like 30 minutes, an hour before they call it.
Yeah.
But in movies, 20 seconds.
Well, he felt his pulse like once and he was like, okay.
As soon as they started the CPR, I was like, gosh, we need to stop doing that.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. It bothers the crap out of me. I don't know why. So that
the other interesting thing is like, why would you not? Don't you think they would have like a defibrillator? What do you call that?
Yeah, defibrillator.
Do you think they would have that in the cockpit?
I have no idea. I was like, whatever, it's fine.
It was fine. It was fine.
So he died. The pilot died. So it's just Joseph Gordon-Levitt. We do have a subdued terrorist in the cockpit with them. He's tied to a chair and duct taped up. And then we start getting, and I do kind of want to talk about this, is there's two terrorists in the back. This is where I was talking about earlier with the sound editing where it's persistent banging on the door. I thought that was good. And then we get the hostage situation.
Right.
How did that? Okay, so this is what I was talking about earlier too. I'm pretty sure the guy that was late for the plane is the hostage.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so dumb.
Yeah.
I was like, that's the most convenient thing ever. Like, was I supposed to feel bad? Like, oh man, if he had just not been late, or if he had been late, I was like, that's so stupid.
If I was the pilot, I would have been like, good, that's what you get for being late.
Hey, at least it's that guy, not the other ones. I was just like, oh my God. Because they made a point of showing that this guy was late. Here he is. No wish face. And then like, he was the one that was the hostage. I was like, ugh.
Out of the 80 people.
I was like, that's just so convenient.
But here's the thing. It's what the scene does do successfully is it's an excellent moral question.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Like, the scene is great.
Do I enter and do I know that I can save a man's life and enter into the unknown? Or do I maintain control of the situation and let a man die?
Essentially, he lets him die, which is totally what you do. I'm sorry, guy, but like, if I let up the plane, there could be thousands that die. One life. Right. I mean,
right. Well,
I understand that you should try and save as many lives as possible. That's the point. Giving up the plane does not save as many lives as possible.
Right. Right. And when I was watching that scene, all I could think of was the old moral question, I guess. Like, you have a train track. There's two train tracks, and on one track, your best friend is sitting there, and on the other track, three strangers are sitting there. Do you move the track so that it kills the 3 strangers. Or, it's told in various ways, but, I figured out that the answer to that is don't pull the lever no matter which way it's aimed. Don't do anything. Like, there's a difference between letting someone die and actively killing someone. So in that situation, it's like, I'm not the one with the glass to this man's throat. I got to maintain control of the situation.
That's an
Try to save
interesting
as many
point.
people as possible. Yeah.
So I thought it was good that he turned off the screen. I thought he should have done it earlier, but I'm like, just turn it off. There's nothing you can do.
Right. And that to me is him like saying, I'm not switching this track.
Yeah.
I'm not going to,
I'm
just going to try to land this plane,
Yeah. So I thought that was good. From there, this is where it kind of slows down a little bit for me.
Yeah.
Not much happens. So we'll just fast forward.
His girlfriend. We should talk about his girlfriend.
Yeah, that's what. Okay, we'll fast forward to that. So his girlfriend is the next hostage. Again, so freaking convenient. I was just like, oh, really? Like, there's 85 passengers plus 4 stewardess. There's 89 people back there. And you chose the 2 that we have met. Literally 2. We've met 2 people.
Yes.
And you chose, I was just like, okay, whatever. I guess.
I was half expecting at that point. I thought the air traffic control guy that they were talking to was going to get pulled to the front all of a sudden.
For some reason, he's on the plane.
He's on the plane for
some
reason.
I was just like, that's fine. I mean, that was so obvious where it was going to go.
Right. I did not expect her to die, however.
I don't know if I did or not. They kind of have a scrummage with one of the terrorists kind of has questionable thoughts, like, are we doing the right thing type thing. Yeah. Eventually, the girlfriend does die. And this is the scene I was referencing earlier. Joseph Gordon-Levitt is great. He's screaming. He's crying. He's doing everything he can. Like,
it's phenomenal.
Like, if this were a bigger movie released in November, like a good director. This guy did a good job. I mean, like a well-known director, like that's the Oscar scene.
Yeah.
Like he wouldn't be nominated for this movie, but that's a great scene.
Oh my God.
Well done by him.
It's so hard to get into that mindset.
Yeah.
Like, to have shock, panic, stress, and just sadness all at once is just so hard to do.
So really, really good job there. Joseph Gordon-Levitt, if you're listening. Great.
I know he's listening.
Yeah.
I know he's listening.
Well, I emailed him. I emailed him like 80 times. He said, stop emailing me. I'll listen to one episode. I was like, okay, great.
Okay, fine. The thing about the girlfriend, though, was that kind of bugged me was he shifted the plane around to try to get them off of her, basically, when they were about to kill her. And it's like, why don't you try that again? Like, he just gave up after once.
Yeah.
It's like,
Agreed. I know what you're saying. But she ultimately does die.
But I will say, I really did think he was going to give in that time.
Again, he did the right thing, obviously. It's like
he did do the right thing.
You can't do that. At about the same time as the younger Muslim kid who is questioning if they're doing the right thing, passengers storm the 2 terrorists outside. They're going to try and take back the plane or get rid of those terrorists. At the same time, the terrorist from earlier who's in the cockpit who was unconscious wakes up and beats up Joseph Gordon-Levitt, knocks him unconscious.
Which was that's where the movie really loses me, because it's like now our protagonist is out.
Yeah.
We find out that these terrorists, they are legitimately terrorists. They're not criminals who are trying to achieve something.
Yeah, you're right. That's the first time we figured that out.
They're just terrorists who want to kill as many people as possible.
Yep.
And it's like, from the time, I don't know how long he was unconscious, but from that time, nosedive into any building in Germany. Like, what were they doing? unless they had a specific target, maybe they wanted to fly all the way because it was from Berlin to Paris. That was the scheduled flight. So maybe they wanted to fly into Paris and take some out there. I don't know, but
could be.
It
So
was weird.
now the terrorists have control of the cockpit. There's two of them, the kid and then the guy that was originally unconscious.
Yeah.
And now the passengers are banging on the door trying to get in because they're trying to retake the cockpit.
Yeah.
At this point, it slows down, like you were saying. Eventually, though, the kid, after not a bad scene, I'll say, when he's kind of freaking out and crying, it was a little heavy-handed, but I thought it worked. What'd you think of the kid's performance, by the way?
I thought it was fine.
You thought it was all right? Okay.
I think if you there was nothing special about the actor. Like if you replaced him with anyone else,
Agreed.
I think it was just like he did his job.
Okay.
I don't know.
So he stabs the guy. He's dead.
Right.
So now it's Joseph Gordon-Levitt back again because he kind of unties him, tells him to not land the plane. He just wants to refuel. This is where it gets bad. Not bad, but like it slows down. So we'll kind of go through this quick.
The last 25 minutes of this movie are just like
I thought it was over too, and then I was like, oh crap, there's 25 minutes left. What could be still remaining?
Yeah, I'm like,
so they get to the airport essentially. They get to their emergency landing zone. All the passengers get off the plane.
Yeah.
At this point,
I will say with the landing scene, that was really cool.
Oh, I did like the landing scene as well.
Yeah. I liked how since his left Tobias's left arm was injured, he needed the terrorists to help him
to adjust the throttle and that was
cool.
good. I liked that.
I liked that.
They land, passengers get off. So it's just Joseph Gordon-Levitt at this point at risk. The terrorist still wants to get out. He doesn't want to kill anyone at this point, but he doesn't want to go to prison/die. So he keeps saying they need to refuel the plane. This is just like this kid doesn't know how anything. I mean, you're not getting out of I don't know. I was just like,
it's like you have a piece of glass in your hand, and you think you're gonna stop. You think the entire German government is gonna refuel a commercial airliner and take you wherever you want.
Yeah. So Levitt finds an extra piece of glass and he kind of hides it for 5 minutes. And I was wondering what they were going to do with that. And they just never did anything with it. The other guy found it and just confiscated it and didn't even, I was just like, why even have that?
Well, there was a moment of tension where he's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And he's like, he had it up to his face.
Yes,
and then
but
he just took it away.
Then he just takes it and there's no ramifications for Tobias. I was just like, so why'd we have that? Whatever. And then essentially they go on and on and on. They kind of character build together. They talk for a little bit to get to know each other. Just essentially to show that this Muslim kid is human.
Yeah.
Even though, he is flawed. He talks to his mother over the phone for a minute. Thought that was okay. I don't know if it was needed because we didn't really know what the mom was saying, but.
Right.
What'd you think?
It's fine.
What'd you think of the reveal when Joseph Gordon-Levitt is telling the kid that I go to this park with my son? He has a Turkish name because his mom was half Turkish. His mom, obviously, being Joseph Gordon-Levitt's girlfriend. They have a child together.
Yeah.
And then the kid realizing that, that was his girlfriend right there that we killed earlier. How do you think that worked?
It was good.
I feel like that's the lesson of this, or not lesson, but it was fine. That should just be on the poster. It was fine / it was good. There's nothing great about it, and nothing really terrible. Nothing's terrible in this movie. The ending might be bad, but nothing's aggressively awful. Nothing's aggressively good. No,
there's nothing. Okay, if your goal for watching a movie is to feel something, anything, then this movie is a 5-star in terms of that.
Yeah.
like it'll draw you in, and it'll make you feel
nervous and
tense for a good 80% of the runtime.
Yeah.
But I mean, story-wise, there's nothing, we have, like we said before, we have absolutely no character development in this movie.
This script has to be 15 pages.
Right. There's no character development. So
yeah,
honestly, what happens to well, I guess Tobias, we care a little bit about. His girlfriend, not so much, because we only met her for like 2 minutes. The pilot, we don't care about. We don't really care about. I think his name's the Dot, the terrorist who has a change of heart. The young kid.
It's really just Tobias.
We care about him a little,
and him. It's Tobias and the Muslim kid, but even not really the Muslim kid that much because he's not in it that much. So essentially, we go on and on. They debate back and forth on refueling the plane. You need to give us Tobias, whatever. Eventually, he gets shot, killed instantly, probably shot by a sniper. Honestly, I knew that was coming. In fact, I'm surprised it didn't come earlier.
Right.
I felt that the German government or SWAT team, whatever, would have snipers on the ground immediately, like as soon as they land. This guy's getting taken out, but he does get taken out eventually. He dies.
Oh, I thought it was nice how Tobias then kneels down, and like gives him first aid.
Yeah, that was a cool moment.
Because and if you could draw anything out of it, it'd be people are complicated.
Yeah.
No one person is completely evil or completely good. So that worked for the most part.
So essentially it ends right there because the story is really about the cockpit. He walks out of the cockpit and that's it. Really, he sees his dead girlfriend, which I was like, oh man, that sucks. That really sucks.
Yeah.
But that's really it. Is the movie? It kind of ends really abruptly.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, I was like, "Oh, it's finally over," because those last 20 minutes or so really dragged.
I wrote down in my notes just real quick the one terrorist that was unconscious and then made a comeback and beat Joseph Gordon-Levitt up had no impact on the outcome of this movie.
Right.
He came back and got killed. I guess he beat up Joseph Gordon-Levitt, so he was out for 5 minutes. I guess he made it a more suspenseful landing, but he didn't do anything. I thought that was kind of odd, but whatever.
Yeah.
There
was that one hilarious. This part of the movie was actually I almost laughed out loud on a movie about terrorist hijacking.
Yeah, that's
but there was that point where he's trying to negotiate with the terrorists outside, and he goes, "I have one of yours out here. Like, we could do a hostage swap." It's like they don't care.
Yeah,
they're all gonna die anyway.
They're already here to die. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
apart from that, he served no purpose.
Yeah. All in all, it was good. We're gonna take a quick break again, and then we're gonna get back to a rating plus a tease of next week's episode. So stay tuned. Thank you again. Welcome back, everyone. We're gonna star this bad boy out. Of course, starring out of 5, and halves are allowed.
Right.
But Sam, let's hear your star rating for 7,500.
I'm giving 7,500 3 stars out of 5. So just about 63% by my scale. And that's a recommend. That's a recommend. 3 stars and above is a recommend. Again, if you want to feel something, the acting, as we've said, is fantastic. The way it makes you feel things is fantastic. The cinematography is great for what it is.
Yeah, we didn't touch on that, but the cinematography of only seeing the cockpit is pretty remarkable.
Yes. Yeah, the continuity is great. And I really liked the character of Tobias. But, you know, in terms of negatives, like we said, the last 20, 25 minutes really drag. There's absolutely no character development. 40% of the movie's in German, and it's not really consistent about, you know, what's what. There's some moments where it's like, as we mentioned, the passenger thing. It's, you know, a little cliched at points, but definitely worth your time. And what is your star rating, Will?
I'm gonna go right with you. 3 stars.
Yes.
I think for what it is, it's good. I'd like to see this director with a little bit more money. I think some of the problems with this movie, like the no character development, happens because of the setting as well. Like he's in a cockpit the whole time. It's tough to have a super ton amount of character development. And why are they in the cockpit the whole time? Well, there's not that much money, so we have to do this. So give him a little bit more money. I think there's a lot of promise here for this director.
Yeah.
And I'm excited for Joseph Gordon-Levitt to be back. Interestingly enough, he is. I like superhero movies. If there's ever a Fantastic Four reboot, he's the Human Torch in my ideal cast. So the Fantastic Four are my favorite superheroes. I don't know why. I just think they're so cool. There hasn't been a good movie yet. We need that.
You know what I realized about Joseph Gordon-Levitt though? He's 39 years old.
I know.
Crazy?
My ideal cast is an old cast. Maybe I'll say more of that later. But I love Levitt. Hope he comes back with more than just this. But yeah, really solid, about as good as it could be, is what I'll say. You know, like I said earlier, this is never going to be a fantastic movie. It's never going to be a bad movie. It's just, thank goodness it was executed well by the director, is really what I'm saying.
Right.
So three stars for both of us. Both gets to recommend. Very nice. Yes. So Sam, tease next week's episode.
Next week's episode, we're doing further into, is this an Amazon original?
It is Amazon as well, yeah.
More Amazon movies with extremely small budgets, or so we've heard. I haven't really read anything about this next movie, but next week we'll be doing The Vast of Night. And yeah, like I said, I haven't really read anything about it yet, so I'm just excited to go in there and
it's about $1 million budget of The Vast of the Night. Could you just give a brief summary or a synopsis of this movie?
Yeah, it says, at the dawn of the space race, 2 radio-obsessed teens discover a strange frequency over the airwaves in what becomes the most important night of their lives in the history of their small town. This looks. I feel like I could really enjoy this movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kind of a sci-fi, Close Encounters with the Third Kind kind of thing.
Yeah, I know what that is.
Or even a Super 8 kind of thing going on.
It is currently fresh at 92% on Rotten Tomatoes, so it's a good movie. We're going to be reviewing that next week, so check it out on Amazon Prime if you have Prime Video.
Yes.
With that being said, Sam, do you have a recommend this week? What media did you consume this week?
What media did I consume?
Just recommend that.
I watched this is. I don't know if this is a recommend. Can I recommend? I guess I can. So I finally got around to watching the Bob Lazar documentary on Netflix. Now, here's the thing. Bob Lazar is this guy who claims that sometime in the 1980s he worked at Area 51 and reverse engineered alien spacecrafts. Now, the reason he gets any credence today is that he's been saying this for like 30 years and he's remained insanely consistent. And he does come off as like a really just somewhat genuine guy who just wants the truth. So he's just a fascinating person because, I think aliens are fascinating. Okay, the documentary is actually quite bad. This guy, Jeremy Corbell, directed this documentary, and he's a little overambitious about things. He's kind of, and he engages in a lot of gotcha journalism, so I wasn't such a fan.
Mm.
But the interview that Bob Lazar did last year with Joe Rogan and Jeremy Corbell, the director of this documentary, is actually fantastic. Like, just because it's such an interesting topic. So if you're into aliens or anything remotely sci-fi, check out the Bob Lazar episode of the Joe Rogan Experience. It's definitely worth your time.
All right, cool. So I'm going to recommend a sound or a score. It's really a score to a movie.
Okay.
I'm not going to recommend the movie because it's a Terrence Malick movie, so there's no way I'm recommending the movie.
Oh boy.
But it's the Tree of Life score. I like Tree of Life. It's good. I never want to watch it again. But the score I listen to a lot. It's a nice score to listen to if you're doing homework or working. It's a quiet score. It's just slow, quiet, just kind of background white noise that you can listen to. I have it downloaded on my phone, play it all the time when I'm doing homework, which isn't right now. But during the school year, definitely listen to it every day, actually. So I'm going to recommend the Tree of Life score. Really quite good. Don't watch the movie.
Excellent. Don't watch the movie.
With that being said, thank you everyone for watching. Definitely check us out on Letterboxd, which you can find me on Letterboxd at willspalding, and you can find Sam on Letterboxd at
sjdierberger. We might put it in the description or something.
Nope, I'm leaving it off this time. I'm not putting it in there.
So listen carefully.
No,
sjdierberger.
We'll put it in the description as per usual. With that being said, we'll be watching The Vast of Night this week and then reviewing it next weekend for our movie of the week. Sam, any last words for the listeners?
Keep watching movies. Stay curious.
Boom. My last words will be mountain, rock, and cabinet. Perfect.
Think about it.
Is there a relation? I don't know. All right. With that being said, what was that? All right. Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Have a great week, everyone.